Poplin with Thunder Breakdown.
All right, so we were going to hold this and wait until the postgame started, but there's a big review that's happening right now, and judging by the crowd's reaction, Raven, I believe they ruled in favor of the Thunder. Now, it was off of Siakam. They were checking to see if there was contact. You probably ahead of me on my stream because I was way behind on Toby's stream
They're
earlier.
starting the inbounds right now, so
Okay.
It's OKC ball.
Yeah, I'm not that far behind you on this, but as we're watching here, Thunder clinging to a 1-point lead. At one point in time, a 15-point lead, and this has just been typical Indiana throughout the course of the playoffs. I've heard them reference on the broadcast a number of times just how they are in closeout situations. Here's SGA just spinning away. Oh, off the back iron and a rebound by the Pacers. And does this not reek of Denver game 1? Halliburton's looking.
I'm
Oh!
stunned right now.
Oh my gosh!
Not to react. I was trying not to react until you saw it.
Tyrese Halliburton has just given the Pacers a 1-point lead with 0.3. That's their first lead of the game. Of course, they go directly to his father, who's there in the crowd. There's Shaq as well. The entire arena is stunned. I don't know how you felt, but I was marking down times. So
it actually goes in. I saw him. I was looking at the shot clock just now as it goes in. I believe it goes in with 0.5 left. 0.5 with left in the game. I mean, that's no time to catch and shoot.
All right, so yeah, you were ahead of me, but that is almost exactly like the Denver game that they were able to steal in almost the exact same way in how that played out. Now, as I was saying, I was marking down times here. It really felt like you could feel the tension in the arena at about the 4-minute mark when Indiana just wouldn't go away, and you could just kind of feel it building a little bit there. Thunder had some big plays in that moment, but could you feel the same thing? Could you kind of get that sense like everyone was on pins and needles in that arena?
So Thunder's shots just weren't going. They were forcing. There was the 3 by Dort, I think, with like 2 minutes left on that back iron that just kind of just started it all off. And then they, instead of trading baskets, Indiana just started. I think they got a couple offensive rebounds that caused them to pull within, and then obviously Keem came in and I think hit a 3 that made it a 3-point game.
Yeah.
And so like just those 2 things right there really turned the game around. Was like a missed shot on one end and a 3 made on the other that made it a 3-point game.
Well, it's been the 3-point shooting that has kept Indiana in this. There was even a moment, Miles Turner had a big missed 3 when it was 98-102, and you could almost feel like a huge sigh of relief from everyone in the building that was there. But this 3-point shooting, and I even had tweeted this a little bit earlier, there's a graphic that I had sent out, and I don't know if I can share it here on my screen or not. I'll just read it off right here. But it's comparing Raven the Indiana defense and the Oklahoma City or Indiana offense and the Oklahoma City defense. The Thunder are 30th in the league in corner 3 rate. We've seen that a ton tonight, and they're 30th in the league in 3-point rate at 45.2%. And if that just doesn't reek of how Indiana was able to accomplish this tonight, then I don't know what does.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's what we were talking about during halftime, just Indiana's offensive threat that they have. I mean, Thunder played magnificent defense in this game. No matter what, that whole first half was just pristine defense, turning them over, making them make uncharacteristic mistakes on offense. But on the other side, the Pacers stepped up on defense that no one thought they could.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is Indiana's done this, I mean, they've played a level of defense as Indiana officially takes game 1 here of the NBA Finals.
They had a chance right there. There was a chance. It just has no aim. I mean, you can't aim in those situations. You just literally got to throw it up and just have a prayer that it goes in.
So one of the big things I think that will become instantly a talking point will be Tyrese Halliburton in clutch moments. This was not by any means a tremendous game from him,
No,
but
and
it's
they just talked about that the game sealing shots that he's had this season. They just showed that whenever he had that one, they went back and just showed a few of those. I mean that speaks for itself. I mean you gotta be on him, and you got Casey Wallace on him, a young guard or a young defender that does what he does, and he's very good at it. But I mean, you can see he just slightly gives him space, and then just pulls up.
I'm laughing. There's a comment that I just saw on on Twitter that said that Tyrese Halliburton's LinkedIn page is stacked right now. Yeah, I can imagine that it is with that type of performance. All right, well, everyone that thought that this was just going to be an absolute cakewalk. I mean, everyone was saying, "Hey, you've got to be weary of a team like this." I think that there are elements of everything that we talked about, from Carlisle to Halliburton to big 3-point shooting. It was the the entire cast and crew from Indiana that helped make this one possible.
1,000%. And I mean, you're down the entire game, and then the lead that counts is the lead that you walk away with.
First NBA Finals game for Halliburton has a clutch finish for him in a big shot, and now the Thunder have lost home court advantage here in the finals.
So you see that stat line right there?
No, I didn't. I was trying to see that.
With LeBron and Reggie, 5 shots. So he ties with LeBron. 5 game tying or game sealing shots for a victory with his team. So he's a part of some pretty elite company there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. We are going to attempt, as soon as we have an opportunity, to kind of piggyback off of the Thunder's post-game show. So that will give us the ability to at least go to the podium. And if we get kicked off, we get kicked off. You know, hey, we're just trying a few things here, but we've been carrying those for you live on the News 9 YouTube page as well throughout the course of the playoffs. So I can't wait to see what Mark Daigneault has to say. I have a feeling it will probably be more of the same of what he has said throughout this course, which is you're going to have moments like this in the playoffs. It's typically about how you respond in game 2. You know, game 1 is always kind of one of those in a series like this, to me, Raven, that all the adjustments happen in 2 and 3. And so now, you know, he gets an opportunity to kind of use that. James in the chat says, you were dogging the Sirs 30 minutes ago." I don't know if we were dogging the 76ers at all, or not the 76ers, the Pacers at all. As a matter of fact, I finished the YouTube chat at halftime and thought, "Oh my gosh, did we give Indiana too much love?" I don't think at any means have I dogged them.
There's no way they only win one game in this series, even though I had OKC in 5. I sat there and and the fact that they stole this already on the road to start the series is already scary enough for them. I mean, can at least say that.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt at all. Just a couple of things off the top of my head right now is, man, where was Chet tonight?
Where was Isaiah Hartenstein second half?
Well, I think a lot of that too was kind of how Daigneault was approaching this. You saw in moments where they went super small, and then Carlisle reacted to that and went small down the stretch as well. You weren't on when I brought this up earlier. So iHeart not getting the start tonight, so they didn't go with the double bigs. But the point I was making with Toby a little bit earlier is that when iHeart was on the floor during the regular season against the Pacers, now take this with a grain of salt too, because Chet didn't play in those games, but the Pacers outscored Oklahoma City with iHeart on the floor in the regular season. So Mark was not afraid to kind of go a little bit deep in his bag there and try something new, but maybe a little bit of that is because Indiana is kind of forcing them a little bit out of the double bigs. And I wonder if that's one of those adjustments that you'll see from Mark coming up in game 2 that he'll talk about tonight.
I believe so. But the only other thing that kind of stood out to me too was like giving the rookie AJ Mitchell the nod. That was in the second quarter. He came out there pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure that out going smaller because, I mean, AJ's not the biggest either. I mean, going even smaller in the lineup. I mean, you got Isaiah Joe sitting on the bench still. I mean, I was trying to figure it out, but I liked what they were doing. I mean, they were rebounding the ball really well when he was out there. It was mainly Dub and Case and Wallace and Hartenstein. But again, yeah, you're right. The Chet and iHeart thing for me, second half was like that's where Miles Turner immediately turned up the heat when he was out there. But then Pascal, he was kind of lost in the sauce for me in the second half a little bit. I didn't see very much from Pascal in the second half, in my opinion.
Yeah, Java Coolman in the chat says Chet should have played more in the fourth quarter. Again, we'll see what they say about that for sure. Chet on the bench in the fourth quarter when we were ahead by 11. DJ says, great game by OKC. Java also followed up and said, hey, go OKC. I'm not even mad. That's one thing I was going to ask you was, do you feel like, because I don't necessarily feel that Oklahoma City played terribly down the stretch. I don't think they played badly at all. They missed some pretty decent looks that they had. The Pacers just never really stopped at all. That was more of a case of Oklahoma City didn't play terribly. Just the Pacers just played better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, like you guys were talking about this during halftime. I was like, wow, like look at this lead. Look at how the Thunder have made the Pacers so uncomfortable in the first half. But then even Toby said, oh no, they're going to make some changes in halftime and come out a different team. And that's exactly what they did. They came out and just dominated when it came to the offensive stats after that. They did not make those same uncharacteristic turnovers in the first half that they did the second half.
Yeah, that is true. The other thing too that I just noticed, and I agree with this, is Halliburton's going to get all the credit. But where are the Pacers at without Nembhard and the way that he played tonight? My gosh, clutch shot after clutch shot. Miles Turner hit some big shots. There were some big rebounds. The thing I would be worried about if you are a Thunder fan is, like, I sent out a tweet. I was like, how in the world is Indiana only down by 8 at a certain point in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
They're more than likely – Captain Obvious here, not going to turn the ball over that many times. They are way better than that about protecting the basketball. But I'll have to double check on here. But I think they out-rebounded the Thunder tonight. The three-point shooting was clutch. There was a lot of areas in which they outplayed Oklahoma City.
Also, I mean, yeah, in every aspect. I'm looking right now at the team stats as we speak. 56-39 in rebounding. Assists 24-13. This is just in Indiana what they beat the Thunder in. They obviously ended with 25 turnovers, so they only had 6 in the second half. Where the Thunder had 7, so I believe they had 3 in the second half. I believe they had 4 at halftime. You don't quote me on that. But the other thing is, like, the Thunder 14 steals to the Pacers 1.
Yeah.
But can't convert off the points, off turnovers. That's where they did not capitalize tonight, was points off of turnovers. And then, that's the biggest thing that sticks out to me. And then, I mean, OKC beat them in the paint 46-34. But, yeah, the rebounding and sharing the ball was where they got beat. defensive rebounding 43-29.
Yeah, and that's I think where a lot of the questions to Dagnall will come from in the post-game press conference and questions about this, even in tomorrow morning. The storyline of game one was what? The fouling up by 3 when they couldn't advance the ball. And people were saying, well, that one's kind of on Mark Dagnall. I felt that way, that he's the one that cost him the game one against Denver as well. I just saw a tweet here that said Dag's got way too cute in this one and it cost him. Maybe that rebounding part that you just talked about right there with kind of going with a smaller lineup is something that they will press him on in the post-game press conference.
I mean, yeah, you decide to start Cason Wallace. He gets 2 points in the game. And I don't and this is where I've always seen Cason come in for Lou or Caruso come in for Lou, and it's a good dynamic there. But when you got Cason and Lou both on the floor, I personally didn't see very much offensive production when that stuff happens. But again, the other thing that I keep going back and forth, but I want to talk about this really quick because it was something that I remember, especially now, was Nembhard and SGA getting into it on that.
How about that?
That little scuffle that happened. Because they're
Canadian
former teammates.
brothers.
Yeah. And it's Shai gives him a little right in front of the ref too, right there. And then he goes to the line, and then Andrew's not gonna let that happen. He goes right back and just pushes him right back and then just stares him down. I mean, I was a little surprised in that for a second.
I like that though. I don't mind that. I mean, in playoff basketball and moments like that, even if you've got a history with them, I don't mind at all going up and giving them a little extra on the end of that. And they're not going to call that on the MVP right there with that little shove on that. So, and he's already proven as well that they give SGA a lot of respect. The officials do. So they're gonna protect him in that moment. Yeah.
Well, and what about that? In the final, I think minute and a half. I mean, SGA, Tyrese reaches SGA. The ball rolls out and it's on the floor, and they're about to go for it, and then they blow the whistle. And for a second, I was like, "Wait, is it going to be the reaching foul or is it going to be a loose ball foul?"
Hey, let's see if we can do this. We're gonna see if we can't go straight to the podium. This is completely on the fly, so I apologize.
Would have liked to get the game, but need to be a better team in game 2.
See how this goes.
On your right, Tim, third row.
Tim McMahon, ESPN.
Can
What
you hear that,
changed
Raven?
defensively for you guys, offensively for them after halftime?
I thought they loosened us up a little bit. They took better care of the ball. Obviously, I'm sure that was a huge theme for them coming in and at the half. So I thought they did a good job of attacking. They made a couple more shots, obviously. We'll have to look at it, but I thought our conversion on the turnovers in the first half hurt us a little bit. Like, we didn't get the kind of juice for that squeeze that we normally do when we turn teams over, so we can take a look at that. I thought offensively for us, we hit the paint like crazy. We took like 50-something shots in the paint for only 40-something points, so we can look at those. We got to finish stronger. We got to be stronger with the ball, or we got to spray some of those out and look at those pictures. But this is what happens when you play a team. You learn them, you get a feel for them in game 1, and then the series starts to evolve.
On the left over here.
Mark, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Obviously, opportunity lost to lead all night and then lose. How do you not let it trickle into the next game? And what have your guys done to lead you to believe that it won't be sort of a maybe the defining game of this series?
Well, there's a lot more games left in the series, so we understand that. We got to get ourselves to 0, as we always do. That's a habit that hopefully we've formed. These guys have made a habit of being able to get ourselves centered and play our best game in the next game. So you got to tip your hat to them. They got us tonight. They played really well. They deserve to win, but we got to learn from it. We got to improve like we would if we had won the game. And get ourselves ready for game 2. It's really what it comes down to.
Front right, Nick.
Mark, you mentioned the conversion and some of the stuff you had around the rim that just didn't go down. What did you notice in real time about maybe the angles you all were getting on drives, or some things there that you all can clean up in game 2?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. I thought We were a little sloppy on some gathers. They got a piece of the ball on some of the plays. I thought there were some that we probably jammed up there, and we could have gotten to 2 feet or sprayed the ball back out. And some of them we just didn't finish, which is part of the game. I mean, we don't have to be perfect, but we do have to learn from it. You know, it's a team we haven't played a ton this season, so tonight gave us a feel for them, and we've got to take that feel, figure out where we can improve, and just improve as the series goes on. That's always our mantra through these series, is we just have to grow with the series. That's going to be our challenge in this one. But we got to get to work on that, obviously.
Myron up front.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, you got the turnovers tonight, 25, but they didn't produce a lot of points, and you led the playoffs in points off turnovers. And also, Obi Toppin, it's like every time he came with a big three-pointer, was he doing something to get open? Was they running some stuff for him? But it seemed like he really hurt you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the turnovers, that I thought was a big part of it. Our conversion, we want to be fast up the floor. I didn't think we converted a lot of advantageous situations tonight, so we can learn from that. Like I said, we want to be in the paint against this team. Thought we got there a lot and just didn't convert those. So offensively, there's things we can look at. And then defensively, they made some plays. They made some shots. I mean, Neesmith made some big shots, and Toppin, shot the heck out of the ball. I don't know what they shot as a team from 3. I think it's like 45 or 46. But they shot the hell out of the ball. They have all playoffs. We got to look at the ones that, if they're contested and they just make a shot, you tip your hat. But there was a lot of them that were on our breakdowns. We got to learn from those and credit them. They made us pay when we made mistakes tonight.
Dan in the center.
On Yahoo Sports. Seemed like with some of the switching that you guys were getting into, they were able to get a little bit more of their, Siakam or Turner on some of your smalls. Is that, I mean, obviously that's part of game plan, but is that something that you're concerned about with the height advantage they're able to get to down low?
Only if they take advantage of it. Some of it's the cost of doing business, to be able to get perimeter speed on the court, get more switching in the game. I mean, it's obviously something that is a trade-off, but we can look at it. I thought the small lineup at the end of the first half looked pretty good. Offensively, we didn't move the scoreboard, but I thought we were getting some good stuff there. That's why I went back to it down the stretch. But, when we're small, we have to be pressure-oriented and contain the ball, and I thought they got some cracks against us that hurt us a little bit more than the post-ups did. But we'll look at everything. We obviously have to be better if we want to win game 2.
Next row back.
Yeah, you had a starting lineup change. What was the reasoning going to Wallace, and then late you closed with no centers? Are you seeing at least early that this might be a smaller series?
It was tonight. That was obviously the intention. I thought getting Kaysen out there, really defensively, giving us another perimeter guy for Halliburton and Nemhard. That was the idea there. We've been pretty fluid with the lineup throughout the course of the season. Kaysen started 40-something games. We changed the lineup a million times. We obviously heading in the playoffs, but that's why we do it during the regular season, is so that it's not earth-shattering when we do it. So I thought the guys adapted. We got off to good starts in both halves. But we'll see how the series goes. I mean, we obviously have a lot of optionality. We'll look at everything. We'll look at anything we can to try to give ourselves the best chance to win.
Fourth row on the right.
I think Indiana scored 12 points in the final 2.5 minutes. Do you think it was the pace that kind of put you guys at a disadvantage, or how would you assess how your defense performed in the last 2.5 minutes?
A little bit of everything. I mean, they made some plays on some of those plays. They made some shots. They got a couple that, you wish you get back. We had bonus fouls, which were costly. And then offensively, we didn't move the scoreboard as well as we could have. And so you just add all that up, and that's how you get that sort of comeback. But, you tip your hat to them. They made plays. They've done it all playoffs. This is part of their identity. They have a lot of belief. They never think they're out of it, so they play with great confidence even when their back's against the wall. They proved that tonight, and, to me, that's a game that they went and got, and it's a game that we can look at and improve in a lot of different areas, and that's our challenge right now as we head into game 2.
Last question over here, Randall, third row on the left.
Daniel Bell, BSO. Their last turnover came with a lot of time left in the game. Did you feel like there was anything that you guys stopped doing to cause those turnovers? Did you feel like there was anything that they did to stop turning the ball over?
We can look at it. I mean, it's never our like end game, is to like turn them over. It's really about disruption, disruption of their rhythm, getting our pressure into the game, using our speed and oftentimes that yields turnovers, but it also yields non-rhythm shots. And so if they're lining up rhythm shots or getting, deep in the paint on us, then that we've had some sort of breakdown of that. But it's not just about turning them over. It's about trying to force them away from what's comfortable. And I thought we did that for much of the game. But obviously, down the stretch, they did a great job of generating what they needed to win.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, there you have it. Let me turn this volumed off before that. Sorry, having to produce on the fly here. Do you have any thoughts on what Mark said? I thought a couple of things that we talked about. One, the first thing that we heard from him was your point, which was it's fine to get turnovers, but you've got to be able to create something off of that, and that just was not in the cards for them tonight.
And then he went on to your point of starting smaller. Just so far, he's just saying Kaysen started 40 of the games this season, but Mark, also Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein didn't play half the season. So what point is there to make of it? He said whatever's the best chance for them to win the series. Is this the best chance they have to win the series is playing small? I don't know.
Yeah, we shall see. You want to go back to the podium and hear from SGA because he is speaking right now, and let's hear from SGA. If I can get the audio figured out, I will do so.
They come back late, and if so, can you sort of draw back on that experience?
Yeah, we just got to focus on being better. The series isn't 1-1, it's 1-4. So we have 4 more games to get, they have 3, and that's just where we are. We got to understand that, and we got to get to 4 before they get to 3 if we want to win the NBA championship, and it's that simple. It's not rocket science. We lost game 1. We have to be better.
Nick on the right.
Shai, in being better, what do you feel are some controllables, particularly on the offensive end of the floor, just given the number of looks you guys got in the paint, downhill? It seemed like you guys were getting downhill a lot, but those shots weren't going down.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not too sure. It's hard to have that answer 20 minutes after the game. But yeah, for sure, we definitely areas to get better on both ends of the floor, and so the next 2 days before, try to get better and then come out here and be a better team for game 2.
Jenny here on the left.
Shai, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. You guys have, when you've had games that have slipped through your fingers in these playoffs, you've found a way to come back and make good on that. But in the finals, with the pressure being what it is, how can you guys make sure that you do that again? Or is this kind of an unknown because you guys as a group haven't been to this point yet?
Yeah, I think as much as we can, we just got to treat it like every other game. Every other situation we've been in. Yes, we haven't been in this situation, but it doesn't mean our character has to change or what we did last time. It's still basketball, it's still the game of basketball that we grew up playing. The rules don't change just because we're in the finals. So it's like we've been in this situation before. In the other situation, we handled it well. We were better for game 2, and that's the goal.
Tim on your right, third row.
Tim McMahon, ESPN. Shai, I'm sure you are aware of just the crazy clutch run that Halliburton's on in the playoffs all season long, really. He's got the ball in his hands, last seconds ticking down. What's that feel like for you?
I don't know. It happened so fast. I feel like we got matched. He got down going right, pulled up from midi, and knocked down the shot. I don't know. It didn't feel like anything crazy. He just made a play with the time winding down. Made a good play.
Michael Grange, the middle.
Shai, you guys had a long layoff. You talked before the game about sort of trying to fill that time. How do you feel like you responded to the energy in the building and the energy the Pacers brought in the early part of the game, at least?
Yeah, I thought we were pretty good. We had control of the game for the most part of it. Now it is a 48-minute game, and they teach you that lesson more than anyone else in the league, the hard way. But yeah, I thought we came out with the right intentions, right energy. The crowd was amazing, obviously. Just got to do a better job of closing.
Over here on your left, third row.
Daniel Bell, yeah. So, Shai, the looks that you guys got, do you feel like those were just normal? Do you feel like they were doing anything specific to kind of throw you guys off?
Nah, not really. They played their style of basketball. We played our style of basketball. I feel like we got some looks that usually go down that just didn't. But that's never an excuse. We've won plenty of games despite not shooting as well as we know we can. And that's something that we don't hang our hat on. So there's definitely so many areas to be better on. And that's what we have to focus on for game 2.
Next question, the back row on the left.
Shai, Leandro Sarhan from ESPN Brazil. You guys were in a similar situation before when Aaron Gordon hit that game winner. What's the similarities? How can you guys bounce back after such a, probably it's hard to bounce back after that.
Yeah. Like for me personally, like how you lose doesn't really matter. Obviously it sucks, the last second shot, but the energy in the arena and stuff like that. But we lost at the end of the day. We lost game 1. We've lost game 1 before. And on the other side of that, we came out a better team. And, that's our goal. That's our mentality, to try to learn a lesson from the loss, like we always do, and move forward and be better.
Anyone with a final question? Thank you, Shai.
All right. Yes. So Shai with his thoughts, and right there at the very end, what we talked about, eerily similar to Denver, and that was almost the exact same response that we got as well from some of the Thunder players and from Mark Daigneault after the Denver loss as well. Going back to Mark before we get into some of Shai's comments and answering the questions that we had, I do think that we have the tendency to overreact a lot to game 1. And I think Mark was hinting at that when the question was asked about going with a smaller lineup, and said, do you see this as a smaller lineup series? And his answer was what? Well, it was tonight. Just because it was tonight does not necessarily mean that it will be that way on Sunday at all. Game 1 to me is always a litmus test in a series like this. And I think that they'll make the proper adjustments, and I would doubt that we see as much of the small lineup on the floor as much as we did, because that to me, Raven, was a little bit of Indiana kind of forcing Oklahoma City to play into that. And Chet and I mean, they brought in Ihart to pair those two and play those two against each other. Now that's more of a series type move against a Denver. It's harder with a team like Indiana, but I still think that Mark's got enough in his bag where you'll see an adjustment.
I agree. Also, the other thing that they both mentioned whenever they were asked, they said there's more games to play. Y'all act like it's like Shai said, there's not the first to 1, it's the first to 4.
Yeah.
Indiana, unfortunately, has 3. We have 4 left to win. That's exactly how he ended that. While he was talking, I did look really quick, just something that stuck out to me. The last made 3 for the Thunder was the final second in the third quarter, and that was by Shai.
Well, that's very interesting because the Pacers had 6 threes in the last 8:47 of the game. And as you mentioned, the Thunder went 0 for 5 from 3 in the fourth quarter. Now, here are two stats that I think are pretty crazy. So did you know this about Indiana? I forgot to bring this up at the beginning of the game. Did you know that their make or break point in the playoffs is 110 points? So when they don't score 110 points, they're 0 and 4. But now they are 13 and 0 this postseason when they score 110 or more. And Tyrese Halliburton's shot obviously
makes it 111.
Got them to 111. And here's the one that is absolutely wild. This is from the AP. Pacers trail by 9 with 2:52 to play. In the play-by-play era, which, by the way, is 1997. That's when they started tracking play-by-play data. Teams were 0 and 121 in the NBA Finals while trailing by 7 or more points in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime before tonight. Pacers the first team in the play-by-play era to get a win under those scenarios. Absolutely wild.
1 in 101, did you say?
Teams were 0 and 121 in the finals, one trailing.
Wow.
Yeah. unbelievable in a setting like that, and it just adds to a little bit more fuel to the fire of kind of the aura of this Pacers team that we talked about coming in.
I'm also just looking at the free throws in the fourth quarter. I mean, Shai goes 1 for 2 and 1 point, and J-Dub hits both of his, and then yeah, I'm just looking at all those too. The free throws that were obviously they were in the bonus in the fourth quarter. That's where that would happen, obviously. But I'm just looking at the misses, and wow.
Yeah. No Sooner Magic. I don't know if it's necessarily the biggest choke job in the finals. I just think it's like that stat that I brought up, incredible enough as it is. I do think that you can skew that obviously with numbers and statistics from like a timing standpoint. But no, I mean, I still think
How about the coaches?
what Dallas did, by the way, in 2011, they were down 15 in the fourth quarter and came back and beat Miami in game 2. So biggest choke job, no, but under the circumstances, that's a tough one.
They've talked a lot about both the coaches, just two interesting coaches coaching against each other in the series, as they say. But how about both of them, really taking charge in the final minute of the third? Daignault goes and challenges that foul for iHeart, and then at the end, you've obviously got that in those final few seconds with the Pascal going out of bounds, he challenges that, and they both don't get the call, and they are charged with the timeout in those crucial minutes of the game.
Yeah, which is not the norm for Dags at all.
No.
He's been pretty good, which could get us in a whole another topic if we had another hour, which was the assistants now that sit behind the bench that's in charge of telling the head coach, all right, let's challenge this. Like, I've got a whole theory on those crew of guys that you see now in the NBA and the amount of pressures on them, because if it was up to every player, they'd want them to challenge every single last one of them. So
right, and they always go to the player when they commit the foul or the out of bounds or whatever, and you constantly see the player doing this, and most of the time Mark's sitting there staring at him like, okay, I got you. He's understandable. He's a player's coach. He really is. But yeah, in those
he's
moments,
a cerebral player's coach for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
and I joke because I call him Mark Bot 4.0 at times. First time I saw him smile was after they clinched the Western Conference Championship. Sooner Magic chimed in again, said Mark stayed small for too long, got killed on the boards late. Yeah, there's no doubt, and that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier. Sooner Magic about sticking with that small lineup, and game 1 maybe was a game of a smaller lineup, but maybe we don't expect to see that at any point in time in the near future at all.
Mark also said in post game, he said it feels like they made 45 out of 46 threes. I mean, they went 18 for 39, but it did in those final minutes, or at least just in the fourth in general, just them making those few threes that happened. I mean, it did feel like they were making almost every three in that moment. But I mean, they only shot 9 more threes than OKC did, but they made 7 more than OKC did. So,
any final thoughts before we get set to wrap up here on the post-game version?
This isn't a make or break game, but it is surprising for me that Indiana's already still won on the road.
Ben Golliver, if you don't follow Ben, I highly suggest that on Twitter. I was just trying to see if there were any things. The Pacers have now cheated death 4 times in this year's playoffs. Bucks, in the Bucks series, a 97.9 win percentage, up 7 points in the final 35 seconds, and the Pacers win. The Cavs had a 95.9% chance to win, up 7 points in the final minute. The Knicks, 99.7 win percentage, up 14 in the final 3 minutes. And the Thunder tonight had a 96.4% winning chance, up 9 in the final 3 minutes. And
Again,
that's,
they were favorited to win every game.
and
But
that is what we call maybe a little bit of a cockroach syndrome. Like you just can't kill them at all, and Oklahoma City's going to have to find a way.
this is a very rare occasion that OKC loses at home.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Raven, great stuff. Appreciate you for jumping on here on the post game. And
Another little fun little thing on Sunday is OKC's 100th game of the season.
is it really?
I believe so. I believe that's what we looked at today. Quote me on it. Don't quote me on it. But I'm pretty sure it's their 100th game of the season.
If everyone,
go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say before I just completely cut you off. If everyone like to check out all of our content that we've been working on, you can go to news9.com. You can also go to newson6.com if you're in the Tulsa area checking this out. And we've been putting in a lot of extra work. Not just us, the entire crew for News 9 and News on 6 have been really just absolutely crushing it with the Thunder content. And we'll have more from a reaction standpoint as well after the loss tonight in game number 1 to the Indiana Pacers. Raven, appreciate you. And thank you to everyone that tuned in. And to everyone that asked questions as well. We'll continue to do more of these here throughout the course of the NBA Finals. For the final time, I want to say hit that like and subscribe button. You can't do a podcast without doing that. What do the kids say? Like, smash the like and subscribe?
Don't ask me.
My daughter says
now
that.
in
She's
your
7.
time. I'm now in your time, Pop.
Yeah. All I know is my daughter says that, and she's 7, and she doesn't even have a podcast at all, or a video at all. All right.
We'll
have a good night from all of us, and make sure you check out the content on news9.com and newson6.com.
Tune in on TV as well. We have team coverage.
Oh, yeah. I can't forget about the TV part at all.
That is what we are.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's own digital studio stream. Stay with News 9, online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.